Hey everybody, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina, Kristina. Hope you're having a good day, good night, guten Tag, guten Nacht, guten Abend. It's whatever. Please hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I'm doing a good job. There's no theme music here. There's no extra special effects here. I'm very low tech. What you see is what you get. It's just me reading books, talking books. I just wanted to give a heads up. After we do Patterson, we may take a pause. I want to know if you know your alphabet. Do you know your alphabet? Do you know your ABCs? Are you ready for some ABCs? Here we go. You get ready for your ABCs. Do you know your ABCs? Sue Grafton, ABCs. Kinsey Millhone, she's a gumshoe detective in the 80s. No cell phones. Very beginning of computers. Very beginning of computers. As she moves up through the 80s, she gets a little bit more with the computers. Very low tech. Just starting out with the fax machines. Very low tech. Gumshoe detective. No special stuff going on here, and she gets in an awful lot of trouble because she doesn't have cell phone. She's got to go looking for a payphone. Do y'all even know what a payphone is? A payphone? So we're going to just go through this real quick and to give you a heads up for videos to start looking for in the next coming weeks. We are doing A is for Alibi, the beginning, the start of the series. A tough-talking former cop, private investigator Kinsey Millhone has set up a modest detective agency in a quiet corner of Santa Teresa, California. A divorced twice loner with few personal possessions and few personal attachments, she's got a soft spot for underdogs and lost causes. A is for the accused. She draws desperate clients like Nikki File. 8 years ago, Nikki was convicted of killing her philandering husband. Now she's out on parole and needs Kinsey's help to find the real killer. But after all this time clearing Nikki's bad name won't be easy. A is for Alibi. B is for Burglar. Kinsey's hunch proves true. I can't read without my glasses. Just a second. Although business has been slow lately for PI Kinsey Millhone, she's reluctant to take on the case of locating Beverly Danger's sister Elaine Bolt. It's a small matter that Beverly should be able to handle herself. So why is she enlisting Kinsey's service? Beverly claims she needs Elaine's signature on some documents so that she can collect a small inheritance. But the whole affair doesn't sit well with Kinsey, and there's something she's learned in her line of work. It's always to follow your instincts. B is for burglary. C is for corpse. How do you go about solving an attempted murder when the victim has lost a good part of his memory? It's one of Kinsey's toughest cases yet, but she never backs down from a challenge. 23-year-old Bobby Callahan is lucky to be alive after a car forced the Porsche over a bridge and into the canyon. The crash left Bobby with a clouded memory, but he can't shake the feeling it was no random accident and he's still in danger. D is for deadbeat. When Alvin Lamardo walks into P.I. Kinsey Millhone's office, Kinsey smells bad news. Lamardo wants Kinsey to deliver $25,000. The recipient, a 15-year-old boy. It's a simple matter, so simple that Kinsey wonders why Lamardo doesn't deliver the money himself. She's almost certain something is off, but with rent due, Kinsey accepts Lamardo's retainer against her better judgment. E is for evidence. Being a twice-divorced, happily independent loner has worked like a charm for P.I. Kinsey Millhone until holiday weekends like this one rolls around. When what she needs is a little diversion to ward off the blues. She gets her much-needed distraction with a case that places her career on the line. And if it isn't enough to keep her busy, her ex-husband, who walked out on her 8 years ago, pops back on the radar. It all begins with a $5,000 deposit made into Kinsey's bank account. Problem is, she's not the one who made the deposit. F is for fugitive. When Kinsey Millhone arrives in Floral Beach, California, it's hard for her to picture the idyllic coast town as setting a brutal murder. 17 years ago, the body of Jean Timberlake, a troubled teen who had a reputation with the boys, was found on the beach. Her boyfriend, Bailey Fowler, was convicted of her murder and imprisoned, but he escaped. G is for gumshoe. When Irene Jersh asked P.I. Kinsey Millhone to locate her elderly mother, Agnes, whom she hasn't heard from in 6 months, it's not exactly the kind of case Kinsey jumps for, but a girl's gotta pay her bills. Kinsey doesn't know what to make of Agnes' vague fears and bizarre ramblings, but she's got her own worries. It seemed Tyrone Patty, a criminal she helped put behind bars, is looking to make a hit. First, Kinsey's car is run off the road, and then days later, she's almost gunned down. H is for homicide. When P.I. Kinsey Millhone's good friend and colleague Parnell Perkins is found murdered in the parking lot behind California Fidelity Insurance, she can't believe he had any enemies. The only clue that raises a red flag for Kinsey is one of Parnell's files on Bibiana Diaz, who appears to have made a lucrative career out of scamming insurance companies for phony claims. What? Where is it? I is for innocent. 5 years ago, David Barney was acquitted of the murder of his rich wife, Isabel. Now Isabel's ex-husband, Ken Voight, who on behalf of their daughter is suing Barney for her estate. He's claiming the jury made a fatal mistake. I for innocent. J is for judgment. Wendell Jaffe looks great for a dead man. He's been 6 feet under for 5 years, until his former insurance agent spots him at a dusty resort bar in Mexico. Now, California Fidelity wants its insurance money back. Can P.I. Kinsey Millhone get on the case? K is for killer. Lorna Kepler was beautiful and willful, a loner who couldn't resist flirting with danger. Maybe that's what killed her. Her death had raised a host of tough questions. The cops suspected homicide, but they couldn't find neither motive nor suspect. Even the means were mysterious. Lorna's body was so badly decomposed when it was discovered that they couldn't be certain she hadn't died of natural causes. In the way of overworked cops everywhere, the case was gradually shifted to the back burner and became another unsolved file. Only Lorna's mother kept it alive, consumed by the certainty that somebody out there had gotten away with murder. In the 10 months since her daughter's death, Janice Kepler has joined a support group trying to come to terms with her anger and her loss. It wasn't helping, and soon, leaving a session one evening and noticing a light on the office of the Millhone investigation, she knocks on the door. JKL. L is for lawless. I have another one of these. Oh, I didn't get it. When Kinsey Millhone's landlord asks her to help deceased World War II vet Johnny Lee's family and find out why the military has no record of his service, she thinks it'll be a cinch, but she is about to meet her match in world-class prevaricators who take her for the ride of her life. L is for lawless. M is for malice. Mallet Construction is a mega-million-dollar company that grew out of modest soil to become one of the big three California construction, and one of the few still in family hands. Today, the three Malik sons stand to inherit a fortune, but in order for any one of them to claim his share, the missing fourth brother must be found. N is for Noose. That Tom Newquist has died, a detective in the Noddle Lake Sheriff's Office. Tom was tough, honest, and respected by all. He was also a heavy drinker and workaholic, much to his wife Selima's distress. And now that Tom is gone, Selina can't help but wonder what it really was that was troubling Tom. What made Tom so restless during the last 6 weeks of his life? Why was he up all night and brooding all day? Or what or who was at the heart of his dark moods? With the coroner's report in hand, Selina decides to enlist the help of Kinsey Millhone to find the truth about what happened to her husband. And, oh. Did I read? Oh. I had a second gumshoe. I just thought I'd show this. This is one of the original ones. I picked this up today. I spent way too much for it. Way too much for it. But I wanted to show this was the original cover. I just said I'd show this. This is the first edition. This one. All right, let's come back. Spent way too much money on that. I'll have to do something. O is for outlaw. Let's talk about Kinsey's past. We know of the aunt who raised her, the second husband who left her, and her long-lost family up the California coast. But what about Kinsey's husband number one? He was always a blip on the radar until now. Kinsey receives a call from a random guy who scavenges default storage units at an auction. Last week he bought a stack of boxes and Kinsey's name turned up in them. For $30, Kinsey buys the lot and finds among piles of childhood memories an undelivered letter long ago. Oh. P is for Pearl. Dr. Darwin Purcell has been missing for 9 weeks. When Kinsey got a call asking her to take on the case, a specialist in geriatric medicine, Purcell was a prominent member of the Santa Teresa medical community, and the police had done a thorough job. Purcell had no known enemies and seemed contented with his life. At the time of his disappearance, he was running a nursing care facility where both the staff and the patients loved him. He adored his second wife, Crystal, and doted on their 2-year-old son. It wasn't Crystal who called Kinsey, it was Purcell's ex-wife, Fiona. Everything about their meeting made Kinsey uneasy. Fiona's manner was high-handed and expectations unrealistic. Kinsey's instincts told her to refuse the job, yet she ended up saying, "I'll do what I can, but I make no promises." It was a decision she lived to regret. Pursuing this mysterious disappearance of Purcell, Kinsey crashes into a wall of speculation. Interesting. P. Q. Another one I spent way too much money on today. Way too much money on. Way too much money, almost original price. Can you believe it? Because this is a rare one. I have no idea why, but it is. Quarry, an open excavation. Quarry versus transistor, to dig up or take from, and transistor, to delve into. Quarry, an object pursued or hunted prey. She was a Jane Doe. An unidentified white female decomposed body was discovered near a quarry off California's Highway 1. The case fell to Santa Teresa County Sheriff's Department, but the detective had little to go on. The woman was young, her hands were bound with a length of wire, there were multiple stab wounds, and her throat had been slashed. After months of investigation, the case remained unsolved. That was 18 years ago. Now the two men who found the body, both nearing the end of long careers in law enforcement, want one last shot at the case. Old and ill, they need someone to do the legwork for them. And they turn to Kinsey Millhone. They tell her, find closure if they can. Just identify the victim. Kinsey is intrigued with the challenge and agrees to work for them. R is for Ricochet. Reba Lafferty was a daughter of privilege, the only child of a dying father. Nord Lafferty was already in his 50s when Reba was born, and he could deny her nothing. Over the years, he quietly settled her many scrapes with the law, but there wasn't there for her when she was convicted of embezzlement and sent to the California Institute for Women. Now at 32, she's about to be paroled, having served 22 months of a 4-year sentence. Nord Lafferty wants to be sure she stays straight, stays at home and away from the drugs, the booze, and the gamblers. It seems a straightforward assignment for Kinsey: babysit Reba until she settles in, make sure she follows all the rules of her parole, maybe all of a week's work. Nothing untoward, the woman seems remorseful and friendly, and the money is good. But life is never that simple, and Reba is out of prison less than 24 hours when one of her old crowd comes circling around. Ricochet. S is for silence. Cases don't get much colder than that of Violet Sullivan, who disappeared from her rural California town in 1953, leaving behind an abusive husband and 7-year-old named Daisy. P.I. Kinsey Millhone has promised Daisy she'll try her best to locate Violet, dead or alive. All signs point to a runaway wife, the clothes that disappeared, the secret stash of money. Violet begged about the brazen flirtations she indulged in with local men, including some married ones. Kinsey tries to pick up a trail by speaking to those who remember Violet and perhaps were more involved in her life than they let on. But the trail could lead her somewhere very dangerous because the case may have gone cold, but some people's feelings about Violet Sullivan run as hot as ever. S is for silence. T is for trespass. Kinsey Millhone's elderly neighbor Gus Vronsky may have been the original inspiration of the term Grumpy Gus. A miser and hoarder, Gus is so crotchety that after he takes a bad fall, his only living relative is anxious to find him some hired help and get him back as soon as he can. To help, Kinsey runs a check on the applicant: Selena Rojas, Social Security, driver's license, nursing certificate. It all checks out, and it sounds like she did a good job for her former employer. So Kinsey gives the thumbs up, figuring Gus would be ideal assignment for the diligent, experienced caregiver. And then the real Sonia Rojas was indeed an excellent caregiver, but the woman who has stolen her identity is not for her, and Gus will be the ideal victim. He is for trespass. My co-host is here. I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera. No, no, no. Sorry. T. U is for undertow. In April 1988, a month before Kinsey Millhone's 38th birthday, and she's alone in her office catching up on paperwork when a young man arrives unannounced. He has a preppy air about him and looks as if he'd be carded if he tried to buy a beer. But Michael Simon is 27, an unemployed college dropout. But more than 2 decades ago, a 4-year-old girl disappeared, and a recent newspaper story about her kidnapping has triggered a flood of memories. Sutton now believes he stumbled on her lonely burial and could identify the killers if he saw them again. He wants Kinsey's help in locating the grave and finding the men. It's way more than a long shot, but he's persistent and willing to pay cash up front. Reluctantly, Kinsey agrees to give him 1 day of her time. But it isn't long before she discovers Sutton has an uneasy relationship with the truth. In essence, he's the boy who cried wolf. Is the story true or simply one in a long line of fabrications? V is for vengeance. A woman with a murky past who kills herself, or was it murder? A spoiled kid awash in gambling debt who thinks he can beat the system. A lovely woman whose life is about to splinter into 1,000 fragments. A professional shoplifting ring working for mob, racking up millions from stolen goods. A wandering husband, rich and ruthless. A dirty cop so entrenched on the force he is immune to exposure. A sinister gangster, conscienceless and brutal. A lonely widower mourning the death of his lover, desperate for answers, which may be worse than the pain of his loss. A private detective, Kinsey Millhone, whose 38th birthday gift is a punch in the face that leaves her with 2 black eyes and a busted nose. and an elegant and powerful businessman whose dealings are definitely outside the law. V is for vengeance. W is for wasted. 2 dead bodies changed the course of my life that fall. One of them I knew, and the other I'd never laid eyes on until I saw him in the morgue. The first was a PI of a suspect reputation. He'd been gunned down near the beach at Santa Teresa. It looked like a robbery gone bad. The other was on the beach 6 weeks later. No identification. A slip of paper with Millhone's name and number was in his pants pocket. The coroner asked her to come to the morgue to see if she could ID him. 2 seemingly unrelated deaths, 1 murder, the other apparently of natural causes. But Kinsey digs deeper into the mystery of John Doe. Some very strange linkages begin to emerge. And X. X. The number 10, an unknown quantity, a mistake, a cross, a kiss. The briefest entry in Webster's Unabridged, the most graphically dramatic letter, notoriously tricky to pronounce, think xylophone, the 24th letter in the English alphabet. The betrayed spouse of a wealthy businessman, a hot-tempered woman who was probably too quick to file for divorce and is still out for revenge on the husband who betted her best friend. She is now plotting to steal a valuable painting her ex doesn't even know he possesses. The newly ensconced elderly couple, the house next door, needy and seemingly helpless, in fact, the neighbors from hell. A banker's box holding a recently murdered private investigator's files. Secretly stashed in a false bottom is padded mailer containing personal items, a small Bible, a red beaded rosary, a child's birthday card with 4 $1 bills, a studio portrait of a little girl on her mother's lap, perhaps the child for whom the card was intended, and falling out of one file folder a piece of graph paper with lines of numbers, a code or cipher that, when broken, contains the names of 6 women. One suicide, according to the coroner's office, 28 years ago. A second woman who sued a co-worker for harassment. Lowe, husband of the dead woman, the target of lawsuit, and a remorseless serial killer cunning enough to leave no trace of his crimes. Once again, breaking the rules too, Grafton wastes no time in identifying the sociopath. X. And we've come to the end. Y is for yesterday. And when I got to the end, when I got to this book, I was so massively excited, and I haven't decided if I'm going to do videos for each book singularly. If not, let me know. If you've made it this far in the video, please let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do each book singularly. We waited and waited and waited and waited for Kinsey to get to the cell phone age. And at the very end of this book, she gets to the cell phone age. Unfortunately, it's hereafter that Sue Grafton passes away, and we will never see Z. There were all different kinds of rumors that she may or may not have had an outline for book Z, but she had specifically told her family that she did not want a ghostwriter. Then there was even more rumors about a possible Hallmark or Lifetime movie, but that never came to pass either, so who knows. So here we end with Y. And I don't even see there's no blurb. Yeah, it's all memorial. There's no blurb for this book. But I remember reading it. I remember being so excited that Kinsey was finally getting a cell phone. But it's a memorial to Sue and Y. Kinsey has been a good friend and very much model of an independent woman. Got to California PI rocking a traditional man's job. So check it out. Please let me know if I'm doing a good job or not. Please let me know if you want me to do any of these books individually before I donate them back. I actually spent quite a bit of money, more money than I thought I would ever spend on these books. Way more money than I should have. I'm kind of regretting it, but especially for this first cover, it's probably worth a few dollars. But I'm just going to donate it back to the library. I bought them all. They were having a really big sale. I went to a couple different places, got the whole alphabet. So please hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I'm doing a good job. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you.